Hello everybody. So today wanted to do some practice instrument approaches for the club plane I fly in real life. Just wanted to do a little practice before I got out there. So using Xplane, I'm using this Just Flight Archer as a good test bed. So I'm going to walk through what I'm doing, but the plan is to do about 4 instrument approaches. This is up in the Leesburg, Northern Virginia area. Leesburg over to Winchester and then Martinsburg. So we'll give it a shot. I'm not going to go into detail about checklist usage or those kind of things, but I'll try to talk through as much as I can, and we'll go from there. I'm going to go ahead and get the first approach loaded in. This is going to be to Winchester, Oscar, Kilo Victor. And for this approach, we're going to be doing the ILS 32 using the JSON initial approach fix. I'm going to go ahead and activate it because I just want to fly direct to JSON. So that'll work. Change my CDI here to be on GPS so that my HSI is tracking. And my direct to track is 276. So. About right there. Okay. Alright, so we'll get taxiing, and as we taxi, I'll start kind of talking through a little bit of the approach. Okay, so this is going to be the ILS runway 32 approach into Winchester. The ILS frequency is 109.55, which we've got down here set up. Approach course is 324. We'll get that set in as soon as we turn on to the localizer. And for our approach, we're going to JSON. We're going to want to go up to 3,700 feet. So there's no altitude bug in this airplane, but one trick you can use is using your backup OBS to set in the altitude bug. So 3,700 feet, we'll cross JSON, and we'll turn left to intercept the localizer. Once we've intercepted the localizer, we can descend down to 3,100. Until the Cedar intersection. Then after Cedar, descend down to 2200, where we will intercept the glide slope at Kogan, and then follow that into our decision altitude of 915 feet. If we hit that, we can't see the runway. We're going to go mist, which is what we're going to do on this first approach. Climb to 1400. Then a left-hand climbing turn to 3700, heading 160. We would intercept back at Cedar, and then go to Clad and hold, and that would be a teardrop entry. But in this case, after we go mist, we're going to go ahead and pick up the next approach, which will be the VOR Alpha into Martinsburg. So, all right. Nice thing about simulators here, we don't have to go do a run-up, so we can just get right to it. Leave the fuel pump on, because that is what you do on these low-wing aircraft. And we'll head on out to the runway. pitot heat on for good measure. Gets rid of our little annunciator panel up here. You don't like to have that on the ground because you want the airflow to flow over so you don't overheat it. Okay. Lining up. Haven't really flown this airplane too much, so I'm learning a little bit about the quirks of taxiing this one in Xplane. Okay, so we take off, head over to Jason, up to 3,700 feet. Altimeter setting, let's make sure we've got our altimeter set, 2992, yeah, it's default. Okay, here we go. Full power in, a little bit of right rudder to keep it going straight down the runway. Engine instruments are in the green, airspeed is alive. And we'll start rotating. A little too much trim up, there we go. Start pitching for about 80 knots for our climb. And since it is cloudy out, I don't really need to look out too much. Here we go. 400 feet above the ground. We'll go ahead and start a right-hand turn, direct to Jason. Do a standard rate turn using our turn coordinator. Rate of turn indicator here, since we're in IMC. Go ahead and do direct enter for Jason. And coming up on our heading here. There we go. We'll give that a shot. Now I'm just doing my normal instrument scan. I spend most of my time on the attitude indicator. That's just my style, where I look at the attitude indicator, then my eyes will glance down, back to the attitude indicator, glance to the left to look at the airspeed, back to the attitude, glance. So I use that approach. I find it works pretty effectively. In real life, out in this area, we'd be making sure we stay below the Class Bravo airspace shelves, but in this case we're just going to assume we're on an IFR flight plan and ATC has cleared us for any altitude we really need. Good thing about the simulators. After takeoff, checklist is primarily fuel pump off. We would lean for the climb. We're going to stay pretty low first, so we won't mess with the mixture, and we'll leave the lights on. So that is essentially your climb checklist. And just so folks know, this is not meant to be a to substitute for real life flight instruction. It's good to get out there and fly the real plane. But this is just to kind of show you how me, as a real flight instructor, real pilot, use, in this case, Xplane to go out and practice my instrument procedures. It's extremely valuable. It's free, you know, here at the house, compared to going and paying for an airplane. Okay, got about 1,000 feet to level off. So I've got above this layer. It's nice to have VFR on top. I set the weather to be, you know, at Leesburg, so I really don't know actually if, when we do these approaches, if we will break out. I think we will, but we'll have to see. No, I'm not using the autopilot for any of this. Just want to hand fly. It's harder to hand fly on a simulator than it is in real life, but that just makes you even better in real life with your instrument scan. A little off my course, just slightly. Do that. 200 feet to level off. I am going to go ahead and set up in my backup radio 112.1, which is the Martinsburg VOR that we're going to use for the approach. I do that just to try to stay ahead of the airplane. Right now, as we're just cruising to Jason, got a little bit of downtime. I'm just working on trimming out the plane to keep me around 100 knots here and 3,700 feet. So that way it's one less thing I have to do after I leave, because once we get up here to Jason, things are going to start happening pretty quickly, and you want to stay ahead of the game with the airplane as much as you can. So, at this point, I would tune over to the Winchester CTAF and start listening for traffic over there. But that's if I was doing practice approaches. If you're just pretending that you are on an actual IFR flight plan, then you would stick with, in this case, the approach controller. Okay. Just to review, we'll stay at 3,700 all the way to Jason. Then after crossing Jason, we're going to fly until we intercept the localizer. I'm going to plug in the localizer into our nav2 radio as well, because I can use my nav2 OBS to see when I'm coming in onto the localizer. Yeah, we have GPS, that's good, but it is always nice to practice this as if you didn't. Maybe that's old-fashioned, but personally I think it helps you with your just overall kind of piloting skills, you know, problem solving, thinking of different ways to do things. So let's do that. Let's plug this in here. The course is going to be 324 when we head inbound. Be about like that. Need to work on a little bit of trim on this plane. There we go. So getting closer to Jason, 4 miles away. In real life, like if you didn't have GPS, really the only way you could be tracking where Jason is if you were using the Linden VOR and been like flying inbound on the 058 radio. And that way you would know at a certain distance you would hit Jason. But if you have an aircraft that has approved GPS, it's easy to go straight to Jason, because you don't have to rely on a VOR signal. So, trying to fly this, you know, as if I would in the airplane. Since I did direct 2 after I took off, change that just a little bit, which is why it showed me off. Okay. 2 miles from the initial approach fix. Do kind of my initial before landing check. Fuel pump on. Turn that on. Go. Alright, so we're almost to Jason. We do the 5 T's, so we're going to turn left here, but the 5 T's are time, turn, twist, throttle, talk. Hardly ever have to time anything now, but there we go. Time, start my turn, going to twist my track, my course, And my heading. Time, turn, twisted that. Throttle, do I need to climb or descend? Nope, staying at 3700 here until we reach clad. So, time, turn, twist, throttle, talk. Do I need to make any radio calls? I do not, because at this point I would be on approach frequency. Okay, 4 miles till clad. Just a reminder, what we're doing at clad, we're turning right to 324. Theoretically, our OBS should cross right when we get to clad, and we should be seeing this course come in. But we'll time, turn, twist, throttle, talk down to 3,100 feet. And turn right to 324. A little to the right of my course. That's my correction here. I like to stay out of the game, so I'm going to go ahead and set my heading bug to 324, because I know that's the direction I'll need to be going. Personally, on round dials like this, the heading bug, if I've already got my quartz arrow in here, then it's less. If this was just a heading indicator, I would probably use my heading bug a little bit more. In this case, I've got my arrow. Very important to stay trimmed out when you're shooting approaches, because you don't want to have to be fighting and chasing needles. So pretty close to the trim. This airplane kind of jumps around a little bit, but okay, about a mile away from clad. Alright, there's the GPS switched over. So we're going to do a time, turn, twist, throttle, talk. To the right, we do need to descend, so we'll pull the power out a little bit, maybe to 2100. Descend down at about 500 feet per minute. Time, turn, twist, over to 324. Throttle, did that. Talk. This case, this is probably when I'm going to switch over to the localizer here. 324. When approach would have handed you over, say frequency change approved, or somewhere around here. Okay, so now we are working on tracking our course. And we got 100 feet to level off. My power back to get me at about the 100 knots or so. And then I'm waiting for Kogan. Sorry, excuse me, Cedar. Waiting for Cedar. After Cedar, I can descend down to 2200. Cedar's in half a mile. We're going to do the same time, turn, twist, throttle, talk. Oh, you know what? Just slightly off on my... That'll impact me here, so... A little bit to the right to intercept that. Small corrections. Alright, we've crossed Cedars. Time, turn, twist, throttle. Pull the throttle out. Descending down to 2200. back on the course. We'll head back over to be right on our heading. Descending down on the non-glide slope steps of this approach, like right now what I'm doing. In a small airplane like this, a precision approach descent is about 500 feet per minute, a little less. A non-precision approach would be 800 feet to 1,000. So that's about the speed you want to be doing. In this case, I'm okay going a little slower than that just because I see the glide slope and I know I'm not above it. Okay, there's 2200. Airspeed coming back in. When I am a dot above the glide slope, then that would be my before landing checklist. So, bring this around a little bit. There's my dot above. I'm going to put in 1 notch of flaps. It's going to balloon me up. Try to keep us right on there. And now the power comes out to follow the glide slope down. And my missed approach point is reaching the decision height of 915 feet. Before landing checklist is fuel pump is on, mixture is rich, seats and seat belts are on. Okay. Well on the glide slope. So I've got it trimmed out, so if I get a little high I can just pull out a little power and it should come down. So 915 is my decision altitude. A little off of course. Correcting, just small corrections. Okay, course is coming back in. Again, small corrections. About 500 feet till minimums. Back onto my course here. Very small corrections. A little bit low, that's okay though. In this case I'm just gonna trim up just a little bit because I could have if I get down to 80 knots, that's a good speed for at least small airplanes. I can slow them down pretty quickly. Okay, about 100 feet to minimums. This would be our decision height. Look up, I don't see the runway, so going around. Full power. Start climbing up, straight out. Right rudder. Raise that notch of flaps. And just work on tracking that course outbound. Switch back over to approach, let them know that you've gone missed. go, that was that approach. So, I'm going to head up to 3,000 feet. And then do, because we're going to go into the VOR Alpha approach to Martinsburg. So, track the localizer back course. You saw the course kind of jumping around. So we're flying over it. We had the flag pop up. Now we're getting the localizer back course. A little off there. That's okay. Okay, let's get this set up for MRB, Martinsburg. Now, I'm ready to go direct to the VOR, so let's do that. Whoop. Excuse me. That looks like about a 236 radial, so we'll start that turn to 060 to track to it. And up to 3,000. Feet to level off. There we have it. 2,400 RPM for our cruise over to there, over to the VOR. That is one thing about these simulators, you know, sometimes the trimming and touch from your joystick can be a little sensitive, so I apologize for a little bit of jumping around here. Okay, we'll go ahead and load in the GPS just as a backup for us. I'm gonna shoot this using the VOR signal, so I'm gonna leave this on VLOC. I'm not going to use the GPS. This is really just for situational awareness. I can go ahead and activate this approach. Yeah, you probably could go in there and say, don't do that, try to shoot without it, but that's okay. Okay, for landing, or after takeoff checklist, fuel pump coming off. I'm going to leave the landing light on. That's what I do in real life, just because of kind of a busy traffic area. Okay, as we're heading there, let's brief this approach. So, we're doing the VOR Alpha approach into Martinsburg, using the Martinsburg VOR as the initial approach fix. The approach course is going to be 290. So what we can do is set this up so that I like to use all my tools here. 290 for VOR2, 112.1, 112.1. It's identified as Martinsburg, so we're at the right one. If you didn't have GPS, you'd listen for the Morse code of the Martinsburg VOR. Alright, we're going to stay at 3,000 feet until we get to Martinsburg, and we're going to do a hold in lieu of a procedure turn. So, for this entry, we're going to want to do a parallel entry. So we're going to cross over the VOR, turn right to 110, fly that outbound for about a minute, and then we're going to turn all the way back around to the right, and then be heading inbound. Once you cross over the VOR, we will descend down to our circling altitude of 1120, and you go missed. When? Question instructors like to ask. depends on your ground speed. So we're going to assume we're at 90 knots ground speed, which would mean 3 minutes and 48 seconds after crossing over the VOR. So, what I do need to know is, do I have a good timer in here? I know I've got a clock. Is there a timer? Interesting. Which I don't think this airplane does have a solid timer in it. I think there's one built into the Garmin here. At least in real life there is. I don't know if it'll be in. Well, might have to do that using just my phone or something. Yeah, so I'll do that on the side. I fly with ForeFlight, and I connect it to Xplane as well. So ForeFlight has a nice timer built into it that you can use. So I will use that, and we'll do this approach. A little high. Let me drop down to that 3,000 feet. That was one click of the trim, brought me down that far. Not quite realistic there. Airplanes like to be pretty stable. Okay. Alright, so now we're just waiting. You'd probably tune into the the Martinsburg Tower frequency ready to go. So instead of flying the published mist, we're gonna do a mist approach and go out and do the GPS approach back into Martinsburg. Then we'd go mist, and then we'll head over and do the ILS back into Leesburg, and that should get us down to the runway. We land and call it a day. Speed it up a little bit here. Bit of nose down trim, so we speed up. Cross over Martinsburg, and we're going to turn right to 110, the outbound leg, for 1 minute. So is our parallel entry into the hold. As we get closer to the VOR, of course, deflection indicator, the CDI, is going to get more and more sensitive. So, you might see that jump around. It's important not to chase it. Just want to kind of stick to a heading, fly that heading. Okay. Our ground speed is important though here, because especially on the inbound leg, because that tells us when to go missed. So I'm going to go ahead and start slowing us down to the 90 knots, which is on the approach plate. If we have 90 knot ground speed, that'll tell us how long to fly on the approach before we go missed. Probably going to be around 21 or 2200 RPM power setting. And then we'll do the 5 T's when we cross over the VOR. Getting close, jumping around. It's going to jump around quite a bit. For the flip of the needle. There it is. Time, start my timer, turn to my outbound leg, 110, time, turn, twist, set my course. I'm going to go ahead and set it for the inbound, leg, which is 290. Inverse of our current heading. Stay at 3000. Before landing checklist. Fuel pump coming on. Mixture set. Seat belts. Fuel is on the fullest tank. Be checking that. We can simulate it if you want. Whoop. It's close. I'm gonna turn the engine off. Alright, coming up on my 1 minute time. Time, turn, twist, throttle, talk. Just start our standard rate turn. Back all the way around to the 290 heading. We're going to be crossing over our approach, but that's just how you do, which is fine. That's how you do a parallel entry. We're going to turn all the way around until we're about 45 degrees off the inbound course. So 290 plus 45 was at 335-ish. About a 45-degree angle over. Still a little bit fast. We can pull the power out just a tiny bit. We want to get really picky with ourselves. It's probably at 2100 RPM exactly. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to keep going to the 335 because we need to be able to get back on this course, right? Okay. Time, turn, twist, throttle, talk. I'm just essentially resetting my timer because when you do these parallel entries, this first inbound leg isn't going to be right at a minute just because you had to do more than a 180-degree turn. So, head inbound to try to intercept this course. When we do, it's left to 290. We're going to start the timer again when we cross it, and then after 3 minutes 48 seconds, that's when we will go missed. There's the course, time, turn, twist. So wait till we cross over it, over the VOR. Pretty close to it, so this needle is going to be bouncing around a lot, so I'm not going to put a whole lot of correction in here. Soon this needle is going to flip, meaning we've crossed over. There it is, time, turn, twist, throttle, right down to about 1500 RPM. Keep the 90 knots roughly, and about 800 to 1,000 feet per minute descent. Tracking our course, we're going down to 1120. That is the minimum descent altitude, meaning we cannot go below 1120 unless we've got the runway environment in sight. We can make a normal approach to landing. You have it trimmed out for 90 knots. It should just be a matter of adjusting your power. You shouldn't have to trim it out much more. Circling approach in an airplane like a Archer here, I would wait to be putting in the flaps. Got our fuel pump on. That's kind of the main part you want to have. You can slow it down pretty quick once you get down, assuming the ceiling is low enough and the visibility is good that you could circle to land. Under 1,000 feet, looking for 1120. My timer is on 1 minute 45 seconds so far. I could go to 348. Pretty well on the course here. Plane's on the roll to the right. 1120, so 200 feet to minimum descent altitude. 100 feet. Let me start leveling off here. We don't want to descend below it. This would be back to the 2100 RPM. And now we stay on our course until our time runs out. Two minutes 55 seconds. Got till 3 minutes 48 seconds. It's around 90 knots. At this point, you'd be looking outside, say, oh, can I see anything? Can I land? A little high. Stay pretty well close to that altitude. You have to be careful that you don't get tempted to just duck down a little bit lower. Alright, 3 more seconds, then we go missed. Alright, and we go missed. So, full power, climb out, up to 3,000 feet. We'll just keep tracking on this heading. And we're gonna do a GPS approach back into Winchester. the GPS 14. We'll use the Mumsy initial approach fix. So, let's see here. Nearest. Let's see if it shows up on here. There it is. Direct to, enter. Procedure. Select approach. RNAV 14. GPS. Mumsy. We'll go ahead and activate that. Plan. Now switch this back to GPS. Our course is 279. There we go. We'll head over to there. Pulling up the approach plate. All the way up to 4200. Trim works on this switch or not. Alright. Okay. Now as we're heading over there, after takeoff, checklist cleaned up, fuel pump coming off. Run the left tank. It's okay. Actually, right tank has more fuel in it. So, let's go back to the right. There you go. Around a little bit. The left bank was primarily because I didn't have my right rudder in, because I was getting lazy with my pedals I use here at home. The SciTech pedals. Not the most comfortable things. I am barefootish, probably. If I had shoes on, it'd be better. Okay, let's look at this approach. RNAV GPS runway 14 to Winchester. WAS is required for the approach course is 144. We are going to Mumsy. Initial approach fix, 4,200 feet, just 200 feet to level off. We'll fly to Salo, descend down to 3,700 till Bonsi, then 3,500 till Emnar, 2,700 at Bipney, which is where we would intercept the glide slope. And follow down. We'll shoot this as an LPV approach. I'm pretty sure this airplane on here has is WAS. We'll take that down to our, we'll see we're using runway 14. Straight approach 976 feet for the decision height. And we go missed, 3,700 feet out to Clad. And we would do a teardrop entry, most likely, and hold. In our case, we're going to go missed and then head back and do the ILS 17 back into Leesburg, and we'll call it a day. Okay, almost to Mumsy. Next course is 260. So let's set that here. 260. 260. Oh, slow altitude there. Time, turn, twist, throttle, talk. I can descend down to 3,700 now, so we'll do that. Shooting this approach a little bit faster, just because longer distance here. get up a little higher because these mountains. Okay, 100 feet to level off at 3,700. See the mountains in front of us. You want to pay attention to your altitudes here. Don't get too crazy moving down, because, well, there's mountains there. So after... Oh, hey, you know what, you guys? I messed up here. I should still be at 4,200. That's my bad. I'm not supposed to go down to 3,700 until a sea low. Alright, good lesson learned. Sorry. Okay, so that's a correction. Should have stayed at 4,200 that whole way. Maybe you guys probably noticed that I was doing that wrong. But I'm definitely not perfect. And this is why we practice these things. You can do this right at home. I'd rather practice this here than be out there in the soup doing it for real. Now, when we get to Hilo, we will stay at 3,700 feet. We're just going to be making a right turn to 224. Let's do 2-3. According to the approach chart, it's 224. It's pretty close. 224. Time, turn, twist. Throttle. Throttle, I am not going to descend anymore, because I already erroneously descended. Stay here at 3,700 feet. Once I cross Bonsi, I can descend down to 3,500 until Emnar. Long approach. Finally got it trimmed out nicely here. Well, was fairly nice. Bit of a roll. Okay, getting close to Bonsi. time, turn, twist, 143, turn, twist, throttle. We're going to descend down just 200 feet to 3,500. Feet to level off. If we find out that this airplane is not a WAS, or this GPS is not WAS enabled, then we will just turn this into a LNAV approach, lateral navigation. Thinking ahead of the airplane what we're going to do. Alright, there it is. We do have LPV. Cross around our time, turn, twist, throttle. We'll descend down to the 2,700 feet now. And considering we have LPV, we have the glide slope, we can track the glide slope down. So that's what I'm going to start doing now. We're on the glide slope, we should be right at 2,700 feet when we cross over BIPME. So, we'll see how that goes here. Pretty sensitive on pitch corrections here by my joystick. I use a SideTech X52 Pro, I've had it for a long time. Does the job, I know there's better ones out there. Again, just making small corrections here. You don't want to get too crazy, especially when you're actually in the soup, because you get disoriented pretty quickly. Pull out a little power, don't have to adjust my trim, that should increase my rate of descent a little bit. There we go. $2,700. We crossed over BIPME. That's good. So now we're following this all the way down to 976. I'll slow it down a little bit more. Increase my rate of descent to catch me back up to the glide slope. I'll also be slowing myself down for my approach speed. This airplane, yeah, probably 90 knots is a good speed. For landing checklist, fuel pump coming on. Fuel tanks are on the fullest tank. Seats and seat belts are set. Mixture is rich. Man, jumps around. stabilizing now. Looking for 976. And then we go missed on one more approach. The ILS back into Leesburg. RPM is probably a good speed for 90 knots on glide slope. Sort of drifting a little bit there as I was clicking around. Small corrections. 976 is our decision altitude. Decision height. Don't want to get too aggressive here. Very small movements. Keep us on course. Almost to our decision altitude. No runway, okay, we go missed. Full power and climb out. We already hit the suspend button on our GPS to activate the missed approach. I'm not sure if that'll pop up or not. Let me see. There it is, suspend. Activates our missed approach. We fly that out. Okay. Climb out, start getting set up for the ILS to... Is that doing that? Okay. Gonna give myself vectors for this one because I just don't want to go all the way out to Martinsburg. Okay, so in this case we will, let's fly heading 090 for now, actually 060. Get out my chart. Zero 60. I'll go up to 3,000 feet. Sorry about the altitude there. Didn't get my chart up in time to see what altitude you start at. Okay. 1,000 feet. Takeoff checklist. Fuel pump off. Just get her trimmed out here so she flies for me. really sensitive. Okay, it's getting there. Here we go. Better? Okay, let's look at this approach now. ILS 1917 into Leesburg, 111.75. Got plugged in there. That's good. Go ahead and switch over to the VLOC. Approach course is going to be 171. Set that in. 71. Keeping my heading, my altitude looking okay. 171. We are getting vectors in. Most likely they're going to bring us in outside of Danmo. So let's turn right to 090. Let's see how that will work for us. Right, 090. Probably too much. 070. Danmo, probably down to 2100 feet, which is the altitude we will use to intercept our glide slope. Follow that down to our minimums of 633 feet. It should be enough to get us down onto the ground here, so we will find out. If we do not, we'll go missed, which is a climb straight ahead to 1200 feet, then climbing right turn to 4000, heading 340 out to the Martinsburg 158 radial, out to God, and then we would intercept that and hold it. Hold there, most likely doing a teardrop entry. Right-hand turns. Okay, there it is. Well, we would tune in to Leesburg Tower, have that ready to go, make sure we listen to ATIS. Otherwise, now we're here. So, 633 is decision altitude. Right-hand turn to 090 now. I'm just simulating getting me set up. Controllers will normally bring you in outside of the final approach fix with no more than a 30-degree offset of your final course. So that's what I'm aiming for here. It may not be perfect, but it at least gives us the idea of practicing what it would be like. 090. This will be okay. In real life, we've got some mountain ridges over here that we wouldn't descend below until we got closer, so but ATC would drop us down most likely to that 2100. Which is the altitude we'll intercept our glide slope at. Yeah, I think this should be okay. We'll get a little bit closer and then we'll do the turn right heading 140. Descend and maintain 2,100 feet until established on the localizer cleared for the ILS runway 17 approach into Leesburg. Fuel tank still, well, let's switch over to the left. We're getting low on fuel, which would be fuel pump on. Switch tanks. Ah! And fuel pump off. I didn't realize that this started with half tanks, or less even. begins our simulator. So you could, to get set up for the missed approach, which is going to be using Martinsburg. So you can make sure you have Martinsburg in there in the backup, which we do, the Martinsburg VOR. You can even set up on that 158 radial. That way you'd be intercepting and tracking towards it. So I'm setting 158 down here at the bottom. Since it's the radial, I'm tracking inbound to the VOR. Radials always go outbound. So 158 radial headed inbound is what, the 338? I think I did the math right. Yeah. At 200, 158 plus 200 is 358. That's track 20, 338. Got off my heading here a little bit. Good. A little high. Not quite over the ridges yet. ATC would not descend us down yet. Looks like our localizer's coming alive. Glide slope, localizer. This would identify it automatically. Probably hasn't picked up enough signal yet, but it should pop up saying we've identified the localizer, which is KJYO. Turn right to 110. I think that'll be fine for us. Okay, so this is where our ATC would say call sign, turn right, heading 140, descend and maintain 2100 until established on the localizer, cleared for the ILS runway 17 approach. And we would say that back, Turn right heading 140, descend and maintain 2100. Cleared for the ILS runway 17 approach. Whatever our call sign is. So we'll start that now. I may have been a little early on that call, but I think this will set us up okay. So I'm going down to 2100. Working my way down to my 90 knots for my approach. When we practice instrument approaches, we usually like to do it at a certain airspeed. There are times though where traffic may be coming in and ATC needs you to keep your speed up, so it is good to practice shooting them at different speeds and knowing your airplane, how much room you need to slow down, and those kind of things. So, alright, just waiting for my localizer to come in. I got 100 feet to level off. Go ahead and start adding my power back in to my 2100 RPM, because that should give me 90 knots. Whoop, 90 knots and level. Let's see where it puts us. So I'm just adjusting my trim as I get leveled out here. A little high. My course coming alive. Let's start turning in to track it in. We are cleared for this approach, so that means we can follow it in. Jumping around a lot on me here. Glide slope's coming alive, dot above, 4 landing checklist, fuel pump on, fuel is on the fullest tank, mixture's rich, seats and seat belts are on, doors are shut. Since we are landing, I'll go ahead and put on 1 notch of flaps here. Wow, look at that balloon. It's a lot easier to adjust for that in the plane, in real life. Okay. Be about a 500 foot per minute descent, my 90 knots. Bringing this down, our decision altitude of 633. Should be enough for us to see the runway. So, I'm going to swap back to this view. Course correction here. My landing light is on. Got 1 notch of flaps in, so we're looking good. Slow us down just a tiny bit more. Does come up quick, even in a small plane like this at 200 foot ceiling. Getting a little low. The 500 feet to minimums. It's 80 knots, so it looks pretty good. Very small corrections now. A little high. A little high. 100 feet to minimums. Starting to see out, that's good. A little high, a little to the right. Still don't see the runway, 650 feet. 633, oh, there we've got the white rabbit here. We'll follow that in, we've got the runway environment in sight. We're cleared to land. So I'll put on another notch of flaps. And the final notch of flaps. This flaps ballooned us up a little bit. We have it. Brakes are a little touchy. Okay. Clear of the runway. Flaps can come up. Fuel pump off. Strobe lights off. Talk to ground. Or make our radio call. Well, there we have it. All right, well, there you have it. Thanks everybody for watching. Hopefully start doing a little bit more of these, but I just feel like a lot of folks don't understand the value of these home simulators that they can bring, especially for general aviation pilots, wanting to stay current with instruments. Yeah, you can't feel the airplane, and it's a little harder doing VFR training unless you have a VR headset. That does work really well. But instruments, this is where this really shines. So, thanks everybody. Talk to you later.